Right. Okay. I think we are recording. So, after a bit of a catastrophe last night, well, not really a catastrophe. It was a really good conversation. It was about 2.5 hours long. Myself and Dan realised that we recorded. You could see us, you couldn't hear us, and the whole point of this is that you shouldn't really necessarily be bothered about what we look like, but the content. So the most important bit was missing. So tonight we've conquered our techno fears and gone Zoom record, so it should work a little bit better. I don't know if you've got any main pointers from last night, Dan. Anything you want to pick up on?
Or what bring back from last night? Yeah, obviously, I watched videos from back in January when you started the channel, and it was the man in the mirror and the 1%. Change each day. They were the things that caught my attention at first. And I love that bit where you talk about your interior mirror in your car, and you looked in it and you thought who's looking back, and you had things that you had to overcome yourself, and it just got me thinking about the same kind of thing for myself. And then obviously watching them back, it made me just want to drop you the message and say, like, I like what you're doing, and it'd be a good idea you can get together and have a chat, like, and see if somebody can pick up something from experience of both of us, like.
Yeah, absolutely. I think obviously the whole point of starting Man in the Mirror was about reaching out to people, not necessarily people who were struggling, but people that wanted to kind of grow and develop and had a bit of desire to learn a bit more about themselves. And I was really, obviously we knew each other from a good few years ago, but it was a great way of connecting to you again and getting in contact and sort of saying, how are things? Obviously we can't go to the pub and have a pint these days, but we can have a chat. So putting everything to one side and the time lapse in between, we picked up pretty well, I think, last night. And we had, like I say, it was over a 2-hour conversation, and it flew by. It just went. Before we knew it, we were kind of like, it was about 10 o'clock at night, I think. So yeah, Man in the Mirror, absolutely. From the word go, I created the channel just simply because I knew of people, I knew of men our age. I know you're a little bit younger than me, but certainly in our age bracket, let's say, who had taken their own lives, and tragically, that not only leaves a trail of destruction, it leaves a trail of emotion, but more importantly to me, like, after about third or fourth person that I'd heard who'd taken their own life, I just kind of thought to myself, I need to do something. Obviously I can't help them people now, but what if they had a avenue just to have a watch? They don't even have to interact if they didn't want. But what about if they had something to watch and knew that someone had been through similar sort of circumstances, or whether that's a relationship breakdown, or a marriage breakdown, or family members seriously ill, or whatever that may be. They're not on their own. It's important that Man in the Mirror is exactly that. It's a platform to kind of talk and get to know maybe a few tools, techniques, or tools as I call them. What I mean by tool, I don't mean physical tools, so no hammers and spanners. It's about knowing the ways in which to deal with these things as they come along. So I was really interested from your feedback that some of these things were, let's say, you could relate to them. Was there anything specifically that you could relate to?
the elephant chained to the tree in one of the videos, and that got me thinking. Like, you know, you do hold yourself back for things, and the thing I struggled with was trying to just seek not perfection, but was never satisfied with what I'd achieved. You know, you always want a little bit more and more and more, and I think it was the breakdown of the family unit that made me realise that just be happy with what you've got. You know, appreciate what you've got. You've got a time now where people, well, I myself wanted more than what I had, and I was in a relationship as well with somebody who wanted more, and that forced me then to want more and more. And I just found that I couldn't be satisfied with what I had. It was only when I had nothing again that I realised you don't need all that stuff that you think anyway. But holding yourself back.
That's interesting though, because you know, you say that you wanted more, and that's quite a common. It's quite a common thing, you know. There's different pressures and different fears of FOMO, fear of missing out. We hear a lot about that, and you know, even multi-millionaires, even when they're at the top of the game and they have no, well, let's think about it, like me and you. Like, you know, me and you think, oh, bloody hell, you know, a couple of million quid. Yeah, I'd have no worries. But even these millionaires who have all this money still want more. They want, you know, that little bit extras. They're always fighting and I suppose battling with their egos to try and get more. And it's quite a common theme, no matter where we are in life. It's this: I want more, I want to do this, or I want to do that. And interesting, you said, when I had nothing, but I don't genuinely believe that anyone has nothing. What I genuinely believe is that people realize what's important. It's not about having material things, you know. It's about, you know, saying, oh, I've got a beautiful son, or I've got a beautiful daughter, or, you know, I really appreciate going for a walk in the park and actually taking in something you said last night. You said, oh, I went for walks and I just, you know, I listened to the birds, or, you know, I purposely observed more. And they're the things that are free. They're the things that have no monetary value whatsoever, but yet can be so rewarding. That's, you know, it's really, really interesting.
Yeah, I found when I'd mentioned having nothing, I mean, like, I was struggling to let go of what I already built up, in a way. But I think when we went back to last night there, definitely in the last couple of years, I've learned to enjoy everything in the moment rather than cling on to stuff in your mind. But the ego telling you keep control of what you've worked for previously, type of thing.
Yeah.
And it was only an example of that was, like I mentioned last night, where the car broke down on me in November. I needed a start motor and a battery, type of thing. And a couple of years ago, I would have just like melted at that point and just sulked and gone, oh, life's not fair, you know, I don't want to have to
We've
go
all
and fix
been
this.
there, haven't we? We've all been there.
Told myself.
We've all been there saying, oh, you know, it comes in threes. What next? What next? What next? Yeah, we've all been there.
Yeah. You know? I just told myself, like, you've just got to get up half an hour earlier and walk rather than, you know, drive to work, type of thing. And when you know you've got to do something, you've got to play with your own head and use your ego and learn to enjoy what you know you've got to do. You know, whether it's like things like the dishes and all that. But yeah, when I knew I had to get up that little bit earlier and walk at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, like, at first it was something I dreaded doing, but then just went and done it. It was a fear that I overcome, not a fear, but an uncomfortable situation, and I started to enjoy it. There was no cars on the road, and you listen to birds, and you could like hear yourself breathing in a way as well.
Yeah.
And that comes back to we were talking again last night about meditating.
Yeah.
And that's something that it's a skill. Like, it's something you want to pick up, and if you've never tried it before, I mean, you said last night, didn't you? It took you a while to get into it.
Yeah, it's one of the hardest things I've done, certainly, or one of the hardest things I've had to really concentrate on. And I don't think you ever really master it completely, even when yogis explain, I mean, they've done tens of thousands of hours of meditation. Even when they're explaining it, they have off days. They have days where the mind just drifts, but they're so skilled at it. They've got all the experience and knowledge how to bring themselves back. So, everyone has it within them to try. Everyone has it within them to give it a go. And I think if anyone's experiencing where they are finding like the head's just full of everything that's going off, whether it's COVID related or lockdown related or financial or kids or wife or girlfriend, whatever that may be, I can't recommend, just sitting and just practicing a bit of guided meditation. You can pick up a video on YouTube, doesn't cost anything. It's free. It takes like 5-10 minutes, and just have a go. And we were talking last night, weren't we, about the golf shot? Like I don't play golf at all. I'm no good at it. But anyone that's tried it, if they've hit 200 shots, they might have one shot out of that 200 that is really, it's dead straight. It goes the distance, and you're like, yeah, that's amazing. Well, that's what meditation's like. You'll do it and you'll think, oh, but there'll be a split second when you are practicing meditation that will go, wow, that was amazing. I want to do that. It's addictive. I want to do that. I'll do it some more. Just like the golf shot.
Yeah, that summed up perfectly last night for me. Because if we had a laugh at the end of the night, and I said to you, I'm going to take golf up now. Like,
Yeah.
we talked about it that much, and it's one of the things that I never wanted to do. But you made it sound so enjoyable. Just focusing on like that ball, getting that moment, and just hitting that strike. You're in a moment. You can't. Nothing from the past is going to come in and help you. And I mean, you might be worried a little bit in the immediate future that you don't get it correct, but you just practice over and over again. It's not giving up. That's the key. Is not caving in and saying, I'm not good at this. So I think we talked last night again about when we met at Guaranteed Fitness, and that was one of the places where when I first walked in, I thought I don't belong here. It's not a scene. Seeing everybody walking around with six packs and everything, and yeah, it was one of them. You got to overcome it. You just gotta have a go. Don't give up. That was the key thing that I learned in that place.
Yeah.
Was you're not going to master something in 5 minutes.
No, not at all.
I think that's what I think that's where your anxiety comes from, really. Like, trying to perfect something, because perfection, you might get perfection in that one shot from 200, but you can't expect it all the time in every situation in life.
No.
Because that's what's creating the problems, really.
Yeah.
And we've got to learn really to make friends with disappointment. Well, not disappointment, but make friends with things we don't want to hear. Try not to, put a shield up and put the ego up.
Yeah.
As we talked about last night with the ego.
It's
Um,
interesting. There's some you know, when you are feeling, when you're feeling down and you, oh, I can't be bothered to do that today, or you know what, I'm gonna order a takeaway for the fifth night on the trot, you know, things like that. It's having that, when you say to yourself, I shouldn't do that, they're the time, or I wish I'd have done that, or I should have done that. Especially when you tell yourself, I should have done that, they're the times that you need to act. They're the times that you absolutely do need to do it. I've always kind of been in that mindset where if someone told me I couldn't do something, I'd be like, I'll prove you wrong, and da 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 da. You know, I've always kind of done that in that way. But there are times where, you know, I should have done something. For 30 odd years, I should have, you know, I should have learned to swim, and I didn't. And I got into me late or mid 30s and kind of went, I'm going to do that, and I did it, and I was successful, and you know, within 6 weeks, I was fearless of that kind of situation. You know, don't get me wrong, it was difficult, and I'm by no means an Olympic swimmer, but I can swim. So, you know, that was a big tick in the box. But that didn't take me 35 or whatever years to decide whether it was right or wrong for me. It took a split second. It took a split second of me thinking, you know what, I absolutely should do that, and I will do that, and this is my motivation for doing it. And it happened. So for anyone struggling to think, oh, you know, I can't be bothered to get out of bed today, I'm just going to have a, you know, another day in bed, or I'm going to order a takeaway for the fifth night on the row. You know, think about what you should be doing. You know, looking after yourself. Your body is vital. I really want to do a video, maybe in a few weeks' time, Dan, about, you know, like diet and food and the effect that that has on your anxieties and depression. Because I genuinely believe what we put in as fuel has a big out
100%. Yeah.
has a huge output. So, you know, we'll log that down on the list for what we're going to tackle over the next
Yeah.
few months to come. But I'd be
I'd be
really
happy to go
interested.
into that. Yeah. It's been, sorry.
No, I was just going to say I'd be really interested to see what your followers have to say, really, and if there's anything that they, you know, any topics. There's no topics off bounds as long as it's not Brexit or COVID. There's no topics off.
Yeah, I've had enough of that now. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's, you know, if people have got some suggestions as to what they want us to talk about in an open and honest way, let's get it in. You know, let's see what people want us to talk about, and see our opinions. Because there's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of people out there that go, oh, why am I thinking in this way? Why do I think like that? And it might be really destructive. But if me and you have a conversation and tackle some of the topics, they might start to think, actually, oh, you know, I'm not strange. You know, this is normal way of thinking. Then, you know,
Yeah.
then we may have helped someone.
Yeah. The negative thinking, that's something you just can't stop. You know, I mean, that will come. So I mentioned in one of my videos about the mountain and the weather. Like the mountains, your fixed structure, and the weather's the thoughts. But I'll go back to what you were talking about a minute ago, and overcoming the swimming fear. Like, how did you actually do that? Did you dive into a pool with armbands on and then
Hell no.
swim
Hell
about, or what?
no.
So what happened then? How did you get over it?
So I've always had like a phobia of deep water, and I think the phobia is still there to a certain extent, but I just couldn't swim. You know, I just always had an anxiety, just a fear of water, and the driving force was it that we were expecting my daughter. So my wife was expecting the daughter, and I was kind of like, well, I sunk myself into being on holiday with my family, with my daughter, in the pool, somewhere nice and warm, wherever.
Like Centre
And
Parks, yeah.
yeah. So somewhere nice and warm. And I just put myself in this kind of, I submerged myself in this um, realistic dream. And in that dream, I was teaching her how to swim at maybe 3-4 years old. And that concept, that way of thinking got me through. So yeah, it was baby steps, going in the water, grabbing one of what they called one of them long
Float. Yeah, the
what
float.
yeah float,
Yeah.
noodle float. So one
Yeah, I
of
know
them,
what you mean, yeah.
one of them things. And then literally just doing that. And then I was with a mate of mine who taught me, and he was like, right, we're going to go halfway in the pool and you're going to swim to the side. And I was like, you what? I ain't doing that. There's no way. And he went, think about your daughter, and and that was it, done it. Like, I just put myself in that mode of survival where I had to do it because that was the means of surviving. And don't get me wrong, like I did half a length, and I was like, I was really out of breath. I'd all my muscles were like really tense, and really, it was just off the scale in terms of workout, because I'd got myself worked up. But the big gain, the big benefit was that I actually swam from here to here unaided. That was the benefit. And then from there, it was just a case of practice, submerging myself in doing it, making sure that I got out of bed, did it before work, going to the gym, whatever. And that's how I overcame it. And I think a lot of, and you talked about a story about heights. You were scared of heights, or fearful of heights. And you saw this chimney and you just went for it. You didn't restrict yourself. And maybe, I don't know, tell me more about it, but did you have a mental picture of you at the top?
To be fair, mate, it was just a spare moment. Like the night before, it was my birthday, and me and a few lads have been to the theatre, and we had a mate who was on a show, so we went to watch him and had a few beers, a good night, like. And we woke up the next day, and we were going with our cameras to go and do this big mill in Wigan, like a big abandoned mill. Like, and when we got there, we did a few laps in the mill and did our pictures and stuff, and then we seen this chimney next to it with an open door at the bottom. And on the floor of this chimney and the inside was just bird shit all over the floor, right? And you looked up, all these pigeons were flying about in there and all that. And my mate said, I'm going to go up to the top. And I said, you're having a laugh, like, what you go up there for? He went, just to get a good view from up there, like. So he goes off up this ladder, and then he gets to the top about 10 minutes later and just shouts down, like, come up. It's all right, there's like a platform to sit on up here. So I thought, all right, yeah. And then I just got on the ladder, just started climbing, one step at a time. And then after about 7 or 8 minutes, I don't know if not many people have been on the ladder for that long, but your hands and your wrists start to ache because you're clinging on for your life at this point. So let go and just like cuddle the ladder for a minute, just let my arms have a rest. And I looked down and I was like, oh shit, what am I doing here? Like, and I looked up and I was a mile away from there as well. Yeah. And I was like, oh, what am I going to do? So I just told myself, right, you're halfway up, just go.
Yeah.
Like, if you get to the top, you don't want to come down, phone for a helicopter or something, and they'll come out. You know what I mean? But I went up, and then I got there, and like it was being up there was quite funny because I remember overlooking. I've got a photograph on my wall there of like looking down and just seeing the car park underneath me, and even the mill, which was 5 floors high, that looks tiny compared to where I took the shot from.
Yeah.
And it was only when I was up there I realised I've got to go down again. And that was the scariest bit. So I was we did it in a way like we give each other 5 minutes in between to go down. So you went stepping on each other's fingers and stuff like.
Yeah.
And like when I got down in the end, like I took the step off the ladder, I just hugged the floor, just dived to the floor and cuddled it. I was like, I've never been so relieved to be down here.
Yeah.
And I made it. And I look back now and I think, stupidest thing I've ever done. I've done some stupid stuff, but that was definitely, that one. And I'm not scared of getting on the ladder now, whether it's 30, 40 foot high. I wouldn't go like that extent again.
Yeah.
There's no reason to.
Did you
but it was
kind
just
of
something to say like,
do you ever take that though? So that experience, that kind of exposure to being in quite a vulnerable position, because you're so high, you're hundreds of feet in the air. Do you use that experience in anything from day to day now? Do you use that in day to day now?
Well, to be fair, there's no heights to go up anymore. Like
no, what I mean is about like the conquering of the fear. So you were fearful of heights. Do you ever like use it and say, well, I did that so I can do this? You know what I mean?
Yeah, the cold showers. Yeah, exactly that. That's a very recent thing, but yeah, when it gets suggested to you, you go, nah, no chance. Like I'm not doing it. But it's your ego telling you you're not doing it.
Yeah.
So you just start off, just turn it down a little bit, and then you feel it getting colder and colder, and you shrink up and all that, and it's your ego telling you, like,
yeah.
But it's that situation where nothing from the past can come into it. Like nothing can help you, nothing can. You're doing something that you're terrified of doing, so you don't even think about anything in the past that worried you 5 minutes ago, because it's not going to help you in this situation. So you just blank it out. But then you're looking forward to the future. Like exactly, just getting out the shower and putting a warm towel around you and put some warm clothes on. It's the same as hugging the floor after coming down that ladder. Like it's a moment there where it's a high, and you can reach that high just by yourself. Because you've overcome something that you were absolutely terrified of before. I want to go back again, to when you were talking about swimming. Was it that actually you were scared of? Was like the feeling of the water, or drowning, or
for me it was drowning. Yeah, for me it was not being in control of, let's say, floating or being able to survive. So it really sunk me into survival mode, where I actually thought, if I'm in the water, then I'm vulnerable,
Is there a better mode to be in?
Is there a better what? Sorry?
Better mode than survival mode?
I think if we're learning something, then we should submerge ourselves within that fear, if you like. If it is a fear, I think that undoubtedly survival mode will kick in, but there's a lot of what we call neuroplasticity. So where your brain's actually reprogramming itself, where you're learning a new skill or a new technique, or you're programming your brain to actually cope in that situation. So it's really interesting for me, and I don't think we do it often enough. I don't think we put ourselves into a position where we're learning new things, on a regular basis. And I think that's really important, whether it's picking up a book and reading about something that you enjoy. I wouldn't recommend climbing a 200, 300 feet chimney every time you feel like you need a bit of a bit of a new skill or a learning or whatever.
Rush.
But I would highly recommend the cold showers, because there's a lot of people doing the lake swims at the minute, and obviously that's reprogramming the way that they're thinking. And it's really interesting that you said when you're in that moment, that's it. You're in that moment, and you know that there's better things to come. So there's the warmth of the towel, there's the warmth of your clothes that you're going to put on. But when you're right there, you're doing something that makes you feel kind of, you know, maybe
challenged.
Yeah, challenged in a way. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I've got a good bit to go back to the swimming again. When you said you had this fear that you had to teach your daughter to swim, I had exactly the same. When I knew when Josh got to the age where he wanted to swim, I thought, like, I'm gonna have a nightmare with this, because I was one of them people. I was never confident enough to be walking around with top off in the pool, you know, and around the pool. Sorry, and when you get in the water, it's sound. Obviously, the guaranteed fitness changed that, because you just, you are what you are, you know, end of.
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember taking him along, and I was thinking, like, this is going to be hard work. And he took to it, mate, within 5 minutes. I don't know what it is. The kid picks up everything so quick.
Yeah.
And we started going every Sunday for a few weeks. And by 5 or 6 weeks, he was teaching me, like, the stuff that I was one of them. I can swim, I can float, and I can get from end to end, no problem. Like, but he was saying, "What's this, Dad?" And he was going under the water, going through a hoop, and then coming back up again. And I'm looking at him going, "Nah, never." And I said, "I can't hold my breath for more than 10 seconds." And he's just saying, "Well, just do it. Just hold your nose like that, and then use your other hand to swim. Just use your feet to kick."
Yeah.
So I had to go, and then he was doing, like, rolls under the water, and, like, collecting stuff off the floor, coming back up. He's going to do that. And I was looking at him thinking, where have you learnt this? Like, how? He just goes into it, and, like, he's actually in ways like that, he's teaching me stuff, and it's making, like, I was worried at first to take him in the pool, and then it got to the point where he's worried I can't keep up with him.
Yeah.
Like, if that makes sense. And
it's amazing. Kids are fearless, and you know, like, when, as an adult, when someone says to you, you know, be fearless, live without limits, live, you know, live as though you don't have any anxiety or anything like that, and you think, oh God, no, that's unachievable. But if you cast your mind back to when, you know, you've got Josh, obviously I've got my daughter, when you were watching them learning to walk, if they had any sense of fear at that moment in time in their lives, they'd have never have learned to walk, because they would have failed and ultimately had a fear, and never then achieved being able to walk. And I think that's really important, that we take something from kids and actually say to ourselves, you know, why do they learn so quick? Well, there's a couple of reasons. Number one is they're fearless, absolutely. And number two is they do it with fun. So as adults, we get all serious. We get this, like, you know, we sit as adults and we go, you know, you go to work, and it's very commercially orientated, where you have to sit there and you have to be serious and hold a meeting and look at the directors in a certain way and talk in a certain way. It's bullshit. You know, if we actually
it's a result of.
Go on.
Sorry, mate. I didn't want to.
No, it's all right. Go on.
I was just going to say, what you're saying there about, like, you have to sit in a meeting and stuff. That's a result of conditioning, and we talked about that quite a lot yesterday.
But we don't have any fun. We don't have any fun as adults. We don't interact in a funny, you know, funny kind of way, or a playful kind of way. And ultimately,
we've all been conditioned to be serious.
Yeah, and it restricts this neuroplasticity. So it stops us from growing. It stops us from growing.
Yeah. But it's been put into life as, like, in trends now, and the new norm, like, not the new norm, but just normal behaviour.
Yeah.
And I think I discovered this in my teens, that, like, we are being conditioned. And for a couple of years, I did fall into that trap, because I was worried of not fitting in with the crowd. And I'll give you an example. I mean, like, I remember being in in maths in year 10, and I was in set 2 at the time, and I had this teacher that I had like a crush on the teacher. So I'm sat there listening to everything that she says and just taking it in like a sponge, like. And I remember her saying to me that I think we got to the end of the first half term, and she said, like, when we come back, you're going to go up into set 1 with the guy next door. Mr. Rigby, his name was, yeah. And I said, so I'm happy staying here where I am. You know, I didn't want to go looking at him when I had there to look at, you know what I mean? You're a teenage boy, you know.
Yeah.
And she said to me, well, you're gonna be held back if you stay where you are. And at that point, I said, I'm happy where I am. I don't want to be. Anyway, she talked me into it, and I ended up leaving a class going into this next set. And we were doing algebra at the time. And that was the biggest load of nonsense I've ever seen in my life. I remember, because I was catching up with everybody else, I was behind them all. And I remember him explaining something one day on a board and saying, any questions? And I just put my hand up and said, like, when am I ever going to need this in my life? Like, why am I here? Like, I don't get it. I was the only one who spoke like that. And I remember he said to me, well, stay back after class and explain stuff that you don't understand. And I said, well, that's my time. I don't want to give up, you know, my time. I'm in a class now, explain it. Anyway, he gave me this homework. He said, go home, do it in your own time, come back. And he said, like, if you want to learn to drive when you're older, you'll need to understand how algebra works. And I was very curious at that age. I remember going back to my dad and saying to him, like, he was a mechanic at the time for 35 years. And I gave him this work. I said, yeah, Dad, can you help me with this? And he went, what's that? I said, well, I got told if I don't learn it, I won't be able to drive. He went, oh, nonsense, don't worry about it. And that's when I started thinking, hang on, why am I being, you know, conditioned in a way to take on this subject? And I had this conversation with the teacher when I went back. And he said, listen, the more people we get through the class with an A or an A star or whatever, then it looks better for the school. So that's when I started asking questions like, how does the world work? You know, why are we conditioned to learn stuff that we're never going to use in life? And it all came back to obviously the school getting bigger grants next year. And that's what I sat back at that point and started realising, like, we're all being conditioned in a way to just do what we're told and not challenge, look a different way. And then obviously when you go through that stage where you start then hanging out with people and saying, oh yeah, let's see who can get the driving license first, and then see who can get a car first, see who can get a job, see who can hit £10 an hour first. And everything was a competition. You know what I mean? And you made a good point yesterday about the pound. I think you should tell that again, because I remember listening to it at the time, laughing, but then it left me.
So you mean about it's the ego sort of thing, wasn't it? Was that what the context was?
Something about being happy with £1.
Yeah. So it goes back to the start of the conversation that we've had this evening. In the, you know, if I was earning £1 an hour, I wouldn't be happy, and then I'd kind of strive for that £2 an hour. Do you know what I mean? Then you get there, and then you think, well, I'm not happy with £2, so I need £3, and it never ever stops. It's this continuation of cycle, and yeah, you're quite right. It's an interesting one, because you've got to kind of understand what is meaningful in life. Is it £1 an hour? I don't know. Is it £2 an hour? Again, I don't know. But when you start to flip it on the other side and actually say, well, what does feel rewarding to me, or the situation I'm in? Again, touched on, I've been doing some volunteering recently, and that means more to me than any amount of money. And it's quite addictive, you know. It's giving away your time for free seems absolutely ludicrous, but it is so rewarding. It has such a big benefit on, you know, my mental health, my well-being, you know, just in general. It just makes me feel good, and that's free. No one's paying me for that. You know, that's not even, it's not even £1 an hour. and yet, you know, I find myself submerging myself in this quite frequently and quite a few hours per week. So yeah, it's money doesn't matter. It's what rewards you're getting out of life. And I think just to wrap up, I think, you know, anyone watching this video going, oh, you know, two lads talking rubbish or whatever. No, there's some context in here that really does matter. You know, whether you're struggling or not, it's important that you have some way of finding some relief, because the moment that you start finding a little bit of relief or a little bit of I suppose support, whether that's from these videos or whatever, you start to believe, you start to change the way that you're thinking, and it starts to build a little bit more confidence in saying, oh, actually, you know what, things aren't as bad as what I thought they were, or I'm gonna do that. And you've turned them, oh, I should have done that, into I did do that, you know. And I think that's really important for anyone listening to this video. From my point of view, I really want to continue these chats. I really want to get us together and bounce different things off each other. And if anyone's got any suggestions, if anyone wants something to talk about, something specific to talk about, absolutely anything's on the agenda, as long as it's not Brexit and COVID, because we're I had I've got other activities I need to attend to, but that might be a long video, that one. But yeah, no, so nothing's off the agenda. And thank you for,
it never ends, mate. It never ends.
No, I know. But no, really a real big thank you, because this is only possible because you got into contact with me. And I think that through this is a great platform to bounce ideas off it. Yeah, it's raw, yeah, it's rough, yeah, it's long, but anyone with a bit of spare time can have a think about what we're saying, you know, the context. Tonight we've covered off ego, fear, growth, neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is about reprogramming your brain to think about in a different way. We've covered, you know, fear in children. You know, you spoke. We'll go into the baby elephant scenario again, and we'll talk about that in more detail another time. But we've covered loads of different things tonight, and I think that if people give us some suggestions and give us some topics, we'll be able to cover that in a lot more detail, and maybe bring up, you know, give someone some relief. How does that sound?
Yeah, I'm happy, mate. Obviously, when I watch a video, when you said that about volunteering, you've got a kick out of volunteering. When you put them videos up in January, February, that is volunteering. Like, you know, you've give up your time. You just put a couple of videos out, put a few words out of what's on your mind, and it's got my attention. It's probably got a few more people's attention as well.
Yeah, I hope so.
That's I can get the sense of reward now, because I've put a few out myself in the last few days, and I've had people pop up that I wouldn't expect to hear from, and you've gone, wow, that I've never looked at you thinking in these ways before. It shows different side, because when we talked last night as well, and you said like some of the stuff I've put on Facebook over the last few years is close to the bone, and you can see people like really getting wound up and agitated by it. I kind of, to cut it short, I mean, when we talked about the bullets and stuff yesterday, I just put it out there. I say what I'm thinking, and it's down to a person to process it. Yeah. You know, if they take it as an attack on themselves or whatever, that's their ego telling them that. you know, rather than get hit by it and pick up a rocket launcher and fire something back.
Yeah.
Which I've been guilty of that myself in the past. That's a good learning curve as well.
We all have,
to not retaliate.
Yeah.
To not retaliate, really.
Absolutely.
And just take them, turn them, accept them. They're just words at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
And if you can take something out of it over 30 seconds, then I'm happy volunteering some time, mate. Definitely.
Good. So really, all that's left to say before I stop recording is please send us some suggestions. Send them to Dan. Send them to me. Whatever that may look like. And yeah, let's keep chatting. Keep talking. More importantly, you know, if you're looking in the mirror and feeling that anxious state or that depressive state, you know, get in contact, have a chat. We'll quite happily discuss anything.
Yeah, just remember as well that.
Probably.
Just gonna say, just before you finish there, that just remember these negative thoughts and these depressing thoughts are temporary. Like just like a high is temporary, the negative thoughts are temporary as well.
Yeah.
And they are the weather. They change all the time.
Yeah.
But your mind's the mountain. It's a fixed structure. Concentrate on that. Let the weather change by itself and just take it. Try and look at it. It's key. That's the key thing, mate.
Absolutely. So I'll end it there.